Hey, Eric.
Hey, John. Week 2.
Week two.
You ready to come home?
I am ready to come home. I am. It's been a great trip. It's been an awesome trip. But yeah,
Yeah,
I'm definitely missing home. A lot
I
of long days.
I bet. I bet. I'm I'm looking forward to the something funs. I see all the links you've dropped in there. So,
Yeah, my first time. So
hmm
the work days are long. We stacked meetings, of
yeah, yeah.
course, all day, and then a few meetings at night, U.S. time zone that I still need to do. So days are long, and at least for the first the first week, I pretty much took a nap before dinner every day.
hmm
I think last night was the first night I actually slept a good 7 hours. So I'm about ready to have to come
Just
home
in time.
yeah,
Do it
yeah,
all in
have the
reverse.
have the thing. So
Yeah.
it was pretty cool. So I'll tell you about my weekend in a minute. But anything fun or eventful this weekend for you?
So my oldest daughter came home for a convention. So it was fun to
Oh,
see her. We're gonna see her in a few weeks for
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving anyways, but she had a convention that was here in Portland that her and a friend of hers wanted to go to. So she came home for a few days. We hit up a few of our favorite spots to eat.
Fun.
And I think the next big thing on our list is repainting some bedrooms. So I went and got some uh, primer because one of the bedrooms is a really dark navy
Ooh.
midnight blue with a space scene. I
Oh,
think I
yeah, yeah, yeah,
showed
yeah,
you the
yeah.
pictures of the kind of like the nebula space scene on one of the big walls. And because when the kids were
And
younger, we
yeah,
would always, why have a boring white
right.
wall? We would try to paint something exciting on the walls, polka dots or stripes or whatever the kids wanted. And my boy had wanted this. Well, he's now at college, and so now it's all right. Now let's go back to boring room paint design. So
So
that's
two or three coats of primer just so you can
yeah,
get a
just
different color on.
yeah. So I've got 2 gallons of primer
Y-
for
y- y- Yeah, add a,
uh
add a millimeter of thickness to the wall.
yeah. So we'll see what happens. And that was mostly it. Was just kind of getting prepped for the weekend and hanging out with the daughter number one. I think one of the other exciting things that happened over the weekend is my daughter had mentioned to me, "Hey, Dad, do you have a Blue Sky account, like
Ah,
the Twitter replacement?" And I
it's
kind of
actually,
had
yeah.
mentioned, I got one a long time ago, and it looked like to be uh, kind of extreme on one end of the political spectrum, similar to how Twitter was kind of going extreme in the other direction. And I was like, I'm just kind of a middle of the road person. I'm good. And she's like, I think you'd like it now, Dad. It's moderated quite a bit, especially with just floods of people ditching X/Twitter now. I guess Brazil had banned Twitter, and so everybody in Brazil, 700,000 users overnight, swapped to Blue Sky, and it's been
Really?
gaining popularity ever since. And so I went up, made sure that mostly security had a Blue Sky account, and dropped a post there just to see. I don't know if we're gonna get back into the social media circus, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see.
I do not remember signing up for a Blue Sky account, but I will. Um, I don't know. I
Maybe.
I yeah, I mean I tried Mastodon for a while, but it didn't
It
really
didn't
stick.
stick. Yeah.
But I haven't been on Twitter since whenever.
Yeah, I haven't been
So,
on. I haven't been on social media in general, except for Instagram, because that's the family kind of likes to hang out and post stuff in a private Instagram chat room. But other than that, so we'll see.
yeah.
I refreshed my Blue Sky account, and I'll give it another shot. based on my daughter's recommendation. So we'll see. Anyways, uh,
Okay.
your weekend much more
Something,
exciting than mine.
something, something to see. Yeah. So the first thing is so so Saturday was a kind of a big organized trip. One of our friends here, they coordinated like a 10 passenger van, and there were 9 of us plus the
Oh
driver,
wow.
that like all piled in the van, and and I mean it was individual seats, like
Uh huh.
not like all
Not a
bench
school
seat sort
bus.
of stuff. Not a school bus. That's a good way of putting it.
Okay.
And I think one of the guys, I didn't like track this personally, but one of the guys said that we drove 550 kilometers just in between the stuff.
Hmm.
So we went to basically three major temples, out and about, and one of them will be my something fun. So I'll say, I'll
Okay.
save the details for later. But the first was this place called Shravanbela Gola, which has this gigantic statue, and it's up at the top of a hill, and you have to climb like 700 steps to get up to it. Super, I mean, just amazing, and
Mm-hmm.
just very, very, very cool. The second and third were, the second was Belur. There's a temple, and then the third was Halabidu. That those two temples were amazingly intricate. They're both 11th or 12th century. The solid stone carvings. It was amazing. Well, the coolest thing was actually having a guide, but I'll tell you a little bit more about that in the something fun section. But the photos are stupendous. Um,
I'm scrolling through some of the photos based
yeah,
on the links you sent me.
yeah, they were really amazing. And then and to be honest, so that was the bus left the hotel at 6 a.m., got back almost 10. So call that a 16-hour day. Although
Mm-hmm.
I totally slept the last 2 hours on the way back. I mean, I woke up and we were, half a kilometer from the hotel.
Mm.
And I still wasn't. I think I had at least one other nap during some of the travels too. But it was really cool to get out of the city to see,
Yeah.
the countryside, and so much, um, you know, coconut and coconut farming, um, corn farming, or some derivative of corn, and beans seem to be the main things that I saw. And
Mm-hmm.
driving through some of the small towns, and anyway, it was super cool. And then Sunday, three other guys. I mean, one of the three actually came on both days, but um, three of the other guys kind of met for a shorter day. Like a, what was it, 9:30 to 5 kind of day, around
Okay.
Bangalore. So
Okay.
we went to some temples. We went to a park, or a botanical garden.
Mm-hmm.
A Went to the see the Parliament buildings, and anyway, and then did some shopping at the end, for some tourist type, semi-tourist type places,
Right.
for some gifts and stuff to bring back. So anyway, it was totally fun.
Cool.
And so I'm really glad I had a chance to, get out and about and actually see more than just the hotel and the office.
Yeah.
Um, those are
Yeah.
those are the worst. You're in like some place in the world, and you're like, "Do you see anything?"
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw cubicles, uh,
Yeah.
office buildings, or conference rooms, and my hotel room.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway,
Yeah.
so that was good.
Okay.
Come home tonight slash early tomorrow morning, and well, start on the way home tonight slash early tomorrow morning, and I think 30 some hours later I'll be home.
And I will see you on Monday because I imagine you're just going to get home and crash because you're going to have to
I
readjust
I I
again.
think most of my Friday meetings have been canceled. Yes, because I do get home technically capable of making some Friday meetings, but we'll
No,
see.
nah.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, so anyway,
Well, very cool. All right. Ready for at least a couple things that caught my eye this week?
absolutely, absolutely. Let's go.
All right. So I have two. The first one, kind of a bad day or not a good day for TikTok in Canada. Canada ordered TikTok to shut down operations in the country after conducting a security review, but users will not be barred from accessing the app. Just, of course, uh, the business folks, jobs, employees of TikTok who live in Canada have been told TikTok needs to uh, remove all employees from
Interesting.
Canada.
Trying to picture
Exactly.
the situation where the app can continue to exist, but the people can't,
Yeah,
or the
it
infrastructure.
says they TikTok currently has offices in Vancouver and Toronto, and so they're demanding that they wind. The Canadian government is demanding the winding up of TikTok's business in the country due to specific national security risks. At the decision, it says, "quote from Canada's Minister of Innovation, Science and Industry." The decision was based on the information and evidence collected over the course of the review and on the advice of Canada's security and intelligence community and other government partners. So again, they're not blocking citizens' right to access TikTok or post on TikTok. It's just banned from government issued phones in Canada and a bunch of other countries, US, UK, New Zealand, pretty much all the English speaking countries. Um, a TikTok spokesperson, of course, said shutting down TikTok's Canadian offices and destroying hundreds of well paying local jobs is not in anyone's best interest, and today's shutdown order will do just that. We will challenge this order in court. TikTok takes data privacy concerns very seriously. So there you go. That's
Uh,
TikTok's response. So, anyways, if you're employed by TikTok in Canada, you may be looking for something else.
Yikes. Okay. One of those situations that you're like, what'd they find?
Yeah, exactly. Hmm.
Inquisitive minds want to know.
Yeah.
But
And then the second one is really a really long article, and it's really geared more towards if you're really into Apple sandbox escapes. A security researcher has posted a whole bunch of sandbox escapes for Mac OS, and they look like a bunch of variations on the same theme, right? Because in Mac OS, a lot of processes are running in a restricted sandbox environment. So you can only do things within your sandbox and there's no escape. And so a lot of the attacks are figuring out how to circumvent the sandbox through different capabilities or different capabilities and then escape out of that. Anyways, lots of fun exploits are shared, including demo code and including some that Apple refused to acknowledge with a CVE because he found them in their beta software. And since beta software isn't released, they fixed it before they
oh,
released. Which okay, all right, whatever. So initially I thought, hey, I should walk through one of these, but they're really detailed, and I didn't think I could do it
esoteric.
justice. So I thought I would just drop it here as, hey, we'll drop the link in the show notes. If you're interested in macOS sandbox escapes, this was a great article. So there you go. Those are my two articles this week.
I just like thumbing through the article.
Mm-hmm.
That's very long.
Yeah, yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. All right.
All right.
Nice article. I have to go check out some stuff there.
Mm-hmm. So you've been busy, but
I have.
I see you
Yes.
found something interesting.
Yeah. My article this week. So lots of stuff about ML going on, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
and um, so the article I chose was a JFrog post or blog about a they called it a machine learning bug bonanza. and and so yeah, it's not. I don't think it compares to your the epic post you just linked. But it says that for the past few months, the JFrog security team has been focusing on finding and disclosing bugs in ML related source projects, and we've managed to disclose 22 unique software vulnerabilities in 15 different ML related software projects to date.
Oof.
So you can thank your stars. So I'm not going to walk through all of this, but I kind of picked three,
Mm-hmm.
sort of three-ish things to at least mention here, but then obviously link to the article that has many more. But so the first two are server side things, and pretty predictable too. So
Mm-hmm.
one of the problems that I think you face, I face, is you see the same stuff over and over again sometimes. So this is in a toolkit called Weave, which it's a for evaluating and tracking large language model applications. And the vulnerability in this is a directory traversal vulnerability. So would you like to put a dot dot slash dot dot slash dot dot somewhere in your path? Um,
Mm.
they they
Yeah.
they they did have.
Old school.
Yeah, exactly. Old school is right. So so this is a server. The Weave server has an API where you're pathing to get a file,
Mm-hmm.
and if that path allows directory traversal, you can go fetch files, other files on the file system. So they did have some logic that attempted to test whether or not the file you were downloading resided in like a directory, but the safety check failed basically. It says that the thing was
Oops.
the server's code intends to check whether the user supplied path resides in a specific directory, but its logic can be easily bypassed to access any file in the file system. In short, this allows an attacker to download or leak any file from the file system. So, a
Oof.
low privileged authenticated user could leverage this vulnerability to escalate their privileges by leaking a file named API keys.ibd from the Weave server. This file contains a MySQL data that holds plain text API keys. In case there are
Nice.
any current active admin API keys, they would be extracted and used for gaining admin privilege. So, um, you know,
Mm.
take a how to take a uh, data exfiltration vulnerability and turn it into a privilege escalation. Um, so that's the first
Nice.
one.
Okay.
The second is in ZenML, which is a ML ops framework for creating end-to-end production-ready ML pipelines. Um, the vulnerability here uh, allows uh, a user in one tenant that has admin privilege but has read access to another tenant to basically elevate their privilege in the tenants
Ooh.
for which they have low things. And basically, it's because since you're an admin of your own tenant, you could ask your tenant for a scope change and it'll validate your admin right responsibilities. But then in what you're asking for scopes, you ask for admin of the other tenant of which you have read access, and it validates that you have read access to that other tenant, but it doesn't validate that you should be able to give yourself admin access to that tenant. So it basically
Ah.
is a way of, you do have to have access, you do have to have some amount of privilege on two tenants, but so long as you are admin on one, you can elevate yourself to admin on anything else by asking for a scope. Um, maybe that's the definition of scope creep.
Scope
Uh,
creep.
it says, let's see. So I did that. That was my kind of summation. But it says it allows a user with access to a managed ZenML server to elevate their privileges from a viewer to full admin. To do so, the attacker creates a new admin role by sending a post request to roles API endpoint, specifying the legitimate attacker's organization as the org ID, and supplying the victim's tenant in the tenant ID and scope fields of the permissions. So,
Oof.
So there's two examples of server side, and there's like I said, there's a bunch of other stuff in this. But the third, this isn't a specific vulnerability that they talked about here, but the third thing that I wanted to kind of pull out is, so many model formats contain or support code on execution. And
Okay.
so think of this as like a post install script or something like that in a Python package or something like that. And so if you can affect the server and modify the model file that will get downloaded and run on clients, you can inject your own code in there. And especially if that model runs with any kind of privilege, you can, there's all sorts of stuff you can do there. So I didn't pull out, like, I don't think they had details. I think they went into other details later down the road. But so examples of unsafe model formats are pickle, dill, joblib, numpy, torchscript, keras h5, and saved model.
Okay.
And examples of safe formats are protobuf, tflite, safe tensors, message pack, and pmml.
Mm.
So ironically, and I'm going to have to go check on this, that doesn't include a couple of the model formats that we use commonly. So I'll have to go check on some of that stuff for
Yeah,
myself.
yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
but anyway, so that just as an article, and I forget if I said at the beginning of this, this was JFrog that did
Yep.
the research. So good on them.
Cool.
A lot of good other details if you want to go follow up there.
Well, I want to get to hear something fun, so
Okay.
I will speed through mine. It is just kind of fun. There are a couple things I saw. For example, SpaceX actually ran a test to push the International Space Station back into orbit. I think we've talked about this before, that the International Space Station needs its altitude readjusted every once in a while. So there was that article. But
Everybody needs an
then,
altitude adjustment.
yeah. But then there was another one, which I was like, okay, the picture is just crazy. So LG, a company for whom I am staring at one of their big 32-inch monitors as I speak and say this, LG has created a stretchable display. So we've already seen
What?
like phones that are doing bendable displays. You flip your phone in half and bendable displays. LG has created a stretchable display that can actually expand up to 50%. So it's a display, and
What?
the picture of it in the article shows them twisting it, kind of like
I'm looking at that right here.
DNA twisting it. It can freely be transferred in any shape. So there's nothing, I think, right away useful to this. But you can imagine, and they have some examples in the article about what types of displays and where you can put a display if it is stretchable and flexible more than just simply folding in half. You can start wrapping displays around a bunch of different things.
Right?
So that's just kind of my something fun. I thought it was kind of cool looking, and I look forward to basically reading the newspaper Harry Potter style sometime.
That's true. I was picturing things being wrapped around columns or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, oh,
So
that's very, very, very cool.
All right.
Okay, okay,
Hit me
okay.
with a temple.
Hit you with the temple. All right. So the one that I chose as to be the official something fun was the one in Belur. So it was less damaged than Halebidu, although they're both temples of the same ilk, I guess. So the
Time period?
actual temple name is called Chenakeshava, or but also referred to as Keshava, Kesava, or another longer word. um,
Okay.
but the so a couple things. It has 32 corners in the tilt, like it's not like a square. the and according so maybe the first thing I should say is if we had just gone and walked around it, we would have been like, wow, that's amazing. That's a lot of cool carvings. Who could believe that they did this? But having a guide there, like, so, we basically
Mm,
hired a guide
right.
who took us there and, had a little laser pointer and was pointing at, the different carvings and then giving a little bit of the backstory of much of it and like pointing out special, certain things, etc. And this was it's a temple dedicated to Vishnu, but the king's wife was a dancer, and so it's also sort of devoted to dance. Um,
Okay.
and so they have the just large sculptures up on each of the corners, and I think there were like 60. There were 60 some of them. I don't remember if it was 64 because the 32 times two, but there were like 60 some of these, large sculptures, every one of which was different and showed, a dancer in a different things or mostly like there was there were archers, like women archers, and other things too, but like every single one of them was different. And there was a little bit of a story next to each thing. And I'm pretty sure that as we walked around the temple, he stopped at like every single one of those. But it was cool having our friends there too, because, the guide talked really fast. And so
Uh-huh.
I think I was catching about maybe 40% of what he was saying. And I asked for refinement, but then, one or another of the friends we were with would sometimes jump in and kind of elaborate a little bit. And it was the first time that many of our Indian friends had actually been to some of these places too, which
Oh
was
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Like they were like, wow, I've lived here, and kind of one of those things. I've done that myself in my past of, only go somewhere when you have somebody from out of town that's like, hey, I heard about this place. So
Yeah.
anyway, it was having a guide was like made it 10 times cooler. But anyway, so this temple, and we'll throw at least an image or two up on the chapter art, but really you should follow the link and go to it. So it was built, it says it's a 12th century temple. It is, let's see, it was commissioned in 1117, but it took 3 generations and 103 years to finish. It was repeatedly damaged and plundered during wars, so was
Mm-hmm.
rebuilt and repaired over its history. Dedicated to Vishnu, and has been an active Hindu temple since its founding. Um, so anyway, it was just mind-boggling. The sculptures or the carved rock. But so one other thing here. So it says before I go to my something that was even crazier. So it says it was. So this was part of the Hoysala Empire, and its capital was invaded, plundered, and destroyed in the early 14th century by Malik Kafur, a commander of the Delhi Sultanate. So
Okay.
Belur and Halebidu were both targeted in 1326 CE, but Belur was not as badly damaged. And I didn't see this in the Wikipedia article, but the when we were there, the guide said that it wasn't damaged as much because they covered it with sand before it was invaded, um, so that most of the sculptures kind of were preserved. So I don't know if
Huh.
that's true or not. Would have been a lot of sand, but um, uh, okay.
Yeah.
So the some one more thing on this that was crazy. Inside the temple, there were a bunch of columns that kind of hold up the roof, as what I guess columns do. But one of the columns used to be free floating. You could spin it.
Huh?
Now, right? They said they had a stone bearing on the top and bottom. Oh, I guess another cool thing is the columns. And again, I don't have data for this, so I like treat this as a friend of my friend said. But the columns, most of the columns, appear to have been turned with a lathe because they're perfectly symmetrical, round. But
Okay.
these are like tall, solid stone columns. So how they turned them is a mystery, at least to my friends. So I haven't done more research on this. But so most of them
Okay.
were that looked like they were turned by a lathe, but not
Hmm.
this one. This freestanding one is, and I kid you not, index of the sculptures on the outside of the temple. So it was like a candy rack that you could go in and you could like turn, and they had in miniature like all the sculptures from outside, like in miniature,
Oh, no
like
way.
mind blowing, right? Or what's that? Inception or fractal. So you would have been able to go in here, and this column you could spin and find, the dancer with the bow, or the dancer with the mirror, or the dancer with the monkey
Right.
on there, and the whole column was carved, not just like, hey, one row around the outside of it. I took a little mini video to show people. I'll show you maybe when we go to lunch next time, once I'm home. But
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
it was mind-bogglingly cool. So
Sounds like it.
anyway,
I
had
look
a
forward to
great
seeing
time.
more pictures.
Had
No,
a great time.
sorry. I've just been scrolling through the Wikipedia article, reading and looking at pictures as you were chatting.
Right?
Ah,
So yeah,
history
I'm
is fun.
very very happy to have had the opportunity to do that, and really thankful that
Yeah.
my friends were able to kind of set me up like that. It was awesome.
I I'm I am very much jealous. Well, cool, John. We'll have a safe trip, and
Thank you very much.
we will
I will.
see you
I will.
when you get back.
All right, sounds good. Bye, Eric.
All right. Bye.
See ya.